Will Bill Cosby finally answer all the women who are accusing him of assault? Will he ever talk?
They had the fame, the money, and the perfect TV life. Then it all came crashing down. We're exploring 20 sitcom actors whose careers were destroyed by their own bad decisions. The list includes a star who did time for a bar fight gone wrong and another who was arrested for a violent domestic dispute. 1. Lori Loughlin.
Full House star Lori Loughlin and her husband are now headed to prison for their roles in the college admissions bribery scandal.
Everyone remembers Aunt Becky from Full House and its sequel, Fuller House. Lori Loughlin played the perfect, loving wife and mother. She was beautiful, wholesome, and had a career that lasted for decades. She was, to put it mildly, one of America's sweethearts. Her life seemed perfect. She had a happy marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, and a massive fortune. But not all things are what they seem. In 2019, the FBI unsealed a massive investigation called Operation Varsity Blues. The entire country was shocked to learn that Lori and her fashion designer husband were right in the middle of it. The charge? They had paid a stunning $500,000 in bribes to get their 2 daughters into the University of Southern California. They even staged photographs of the girls on rowing machines to pretend they were elite athletes. The fallout was immediate. The Hallmark Channel, where she was a network queen, dropped her instantly. Netflix fired her from Fuller House. Her perfect image was shattered. After trying to fight the charges, she finally pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 2 months in federal prison. Her husband served 5. It was a jaw-dropping downfall that proved even Aunt Becky wasn't above the law. Loughlin's bribery scandal was a shock. But our next actor's downfall was even more stunning, as it involved dozens of women and destroyed the legacy of a man once called America's Dad. 2. Bill Cosby.
Will Bill Cosby finally answer all the women who are accusing him of sexual assault? Will he ever talk?
For an entire generation, Bill Cosby was television. The Cosby Show was more than a hit. It was a cultural phenomenon in the 1980s. He played Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, a funny, wise, and loving father. He sold Jell-O pudding, wrote books on fatherhood, and was considered the most trustworthy public figure in the country. His America's Dad persona made him a beloved icon for over 30 years. But what many overlooked was a dark pattern of behavior that had been rumored for decades. In 2014, those whispers turned into a roar. Comedian Hannibal Buress mentioned the accusations in a stand-up routine, and the floodgates opened. One by one, then in dozens, over 60 women came forward. They all told chillingly similar stories. They claimed Cosby had given them pills, which he called relaxers, and then assaulted them when they were unable to consent. The man who built a career on family values was suddenly exposed as a monster. Reruns of his show were pulled from the air. Universities took back his honorary degrees. He was arrested, put on trial, and eventually convicted in 2018 for a serious assault. He was sent to prison, and his legacy was gone. Though his conviction was later overturned on a legal technicality, his career and reputation are damaged beyond repair. Cosby's downfall was a complete public unraveling. But our next actor had his big scandal before he ever became a sitcom dad, and it involved a massive amount of illegal substances. 3. Tim Allen, RRR.
There's nobody back there.
What are you doing here?
For 9 seasons, Tim Allen was the king of 90s sitcoms as Tim, the Toolman Taylor, on Home Improvement. The show was a ratings giant, making Allen a household name. He went on to star in huge movie franchises like The Santa Claus and Toy Story. He was the ultimate family-friendly guy, a lovable, grunting dad who was always getting into trouble, but had a good heart. The thing nobody tells you is that Tim Allen had a secret past he didn't want anyone to know about. Long before he was famous, back in 1978, Allen was not a funny comedian. He was a dealer of illegal substances. He was arrested at an airport in Michigan after he was caught with over 1.4 pounds of a powerful white powder. That's a massive amount, and under state law, it carried a mandatory life sentence. To put it mildly, his life was over before it began. But Alan got a lucky break. To avoid life in prison, he made a deal. He pled guilty to trafficking and gave up the names of 20 other dealers in his network. His cooperation got his sentence reduced. He still served 2 years and 4 months in federal prison. He got out, cleaned up his act, and built his comedy empire. But it's a shocking footnote to his career that the toolman was once a high-level substance trafficker facing a life sentence. Alan did his time and rebuilt his life. Our next actor also did hard time for a serious crime, but his involved a fatal fight that ended another man's life. 4. Charles S. Dutton.
You have to take, when you're in school, theater school, you have to take it just as serious as law school or med school. You know?
In the early 90s, the sitcom Rock was a critical darling. It was praised for its realistic portrayal of a black working-class family in Baltimore. The star, Charles S. Dutton, played Rock Emerson, a proud sanitation worker. The show was even broadcast live in its second season, a huge technical feat. Dutton was a powerful, respected actor who had come from the stages of Broadway. But his journey to sitcom stardom was one of the most difficult imaginable. What many overlooked was that Dutton's early life was full of tragedy and terrible mistakes. As a young man in his teens, he got into a street fight and ended another man's life. He was convicted of manslaughter and sent to prison. While locked up, his life only got worse. He got into a fight with a guard and was sentenced to even more time. He was looking at a long, dark road. But then a moment saved him. He was thrown into solitary confinement, and the guards let him bring one book. He picked an anthology of plays. Reading them changed his life. He started a drama group inside the prison. He earned his high school and even a 2-year college degree while still behind bars. When he was finally released after serving a total of 7 years, he enrolled in the Yale School of Drama. He completely turned his life around, becoming a Tony-nominated Broadway star and then a sitcom lead. It's a downfall followed by an incredible redemption. Dutton's story is one of a total life turnaround. Our next actor, however, struggled with his demons in public, right at the peak of his sitcom fame. 5. Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer with Diane Sawyer and holding back tears as he relives the darkest moment of his life.
It's remarkable I survived some of that.
For over 20 years, Kelsey Grammer played one of TV's most beloved characters. As Dr. Frasier Crane, first on Cheers and then on his own smash hit spin-off Frasier, he was the definition of success. He played a sophisticated, witty, and charming psychiatrist. He won 4 Emmy Awards for the role and was one of the highest-paid actors in television history, earning over $1.6 million per episode. But behind that polished character, Grammer was battling massive personal demons. His personal life was marked by unbelievable tragedy, including the terrible ends of his father and sister. Throughout the 80s and 90s, at the height of his fame, he was struggling with a powerful addiction to illegal substances and alcohol. His issues became very public. He was arrested multiple times for driving under the influence and for possession of controlled substances. In 1990, he was sentenced to 30 days in jail. In 1996, he flipped his expensive Dodge Viper in a crash while under the influence. It got so bad that the cast and producers of Frasier staged a professional intervention, forcing him to check into a rehabilitation center. He managed to get clean and continue his iconic run, but for a while, it was a very public and shocking downfall for TV's smartest doctor. Grammer's co-stars had to step in to save him. On our next show, the young star had no one, and his life spun out of control, leading to an accusation that he had tried to end someone's life. 6. Todd Bridges.
Different Strokes star Todd Bridges is speaking out from his jailhouse while awaiting trial.
She said she loved me. She said she'd never lie to me. She said she'd treat me great.
Different Strokes was a massive hit in the late 70s and 80s. It told the story of two young brothers from Harlem, Arnold and Willis, who are adopted by a rich white millionaire. "What you talkin' about, Willis?" became a national catchphrase. Todd Bridges, who played the older brother Willis, was one of the biggest child stars in the world. He was charming, cool, and had a bright future. But the thing nobody tells you about being a child star is what happens when the show ends. When Diff'rent Strokes was canceled in 1986, Bridges' life spiraled. He fell deep into a dangerous habit with illegal substances. His money was gone, and he was getting into serious trouble. To put it mildly, he hit rock bottom. In one ET, he was arrested for the attempted ending of a substance dealer's life. The trial was a media circus. Prosecutors painted him as a violent addict. Bridges, defended by the famous lawyer Johnny Cochran, claimed he was innocent. He argued he was in the room, but he didn't do it. After a tense trial, the jury found him not guilty. But the damage was done. He was a long way from the lovable Willis. He spent the next 9 months in jail waiting for a separate trial on a different charge before finally getting clean. He's since rebuilt his life as a working actor, but his fall from a beloved TV brother to a man on trial for his life was shocking. Bridges was found innocent of that terrible charge. But our next actor from another hit sitcom was not so lucky and is currently serving a life sentence for his violent crimes. 7. Danny Masterson.
Getting some reaction after learning Danny Masterson was sentenced to 30 years in prison after being convicted.
From 1998 to 2006, That 70s Show was the ultimate hangout sitcom. It launched the careers of stars like Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. One of the core cast members was Danny Masterson, who played the cool, sarcastic anti-authority Stephen Hyde. He was a fan favorite, the rebel of the group who lived in his friend's basement. But what many overlooked were the dark accusations that followed Masterson for years. Several women had come forward claiming he had committed terrible, violent, non-consensual acts against them. You see, Masterson is a high-ranking member of a controversial church, and the women said the organization used its power to silence them for decades. For a long time, the stories were just whispers in Hollywood. Then, the Me Too movement happened, and the whispers became a police investigation. Netflix, which was starring Masterson in a new show called The Ranch, fired him. He was arrested and charged with multiple counts of forcing himself on women. In 2023, the trial reached its stunning conclusion. Danny Masterson was found guilty on 2 counts and sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. His former co-stars, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, faced a huge public backlash for writing letters to the judge in his support. It was a horrifying end for a sitcom star. Masterson's crimes were a dark secret, but his on-screen father from that same show also ended up in prison, though for a very different and much stranger reason. 8. Tommy Chong.
So do you like photos, man?
Yeah, man. Sure.
On That 70s Show, the teens spent most of their time in the basement, often in a cloud of smoke. The adult who was most okay with this was Leo, the blissed-out, confused hippie owner of the local photo hut. Leo was played by the legendary Tommy Chong, one half of the comedy duo Cheech and Chong. His entire career was built on jokes about a certain leafy green plant. This made his 2003 arrest both shocking and, in a weird way, predictable. Chong was targeted by a massive federal investigation called Operation Pipe Dreams. The government was cracking down on businesses that sold paraphernalia used for partaking in illegal substances. Chong's family-run business, Chong's Bongs, sold pipes and water bongs online. To put it mildly, the government decided to make an example of him. They charged him with conspiracy to distribute paraphernalia. To protect his wife and son from being charged, Chong agreed to plead guilty. The judge was harsh, calling him a danger to the community and sentencing him to 9 months in federal prison. He was also fined $20,000 and forfeited over $100,000 in assets. That's right, the guy who played Leo on AI. Hit sitcom was now a federal inmate, all for selling glass pipes. Chong's prison sentence was for selling merchandise. Our next actor from a popular family sitcom also faced jail time, but his crime was much more violent and personal. 9. Chris Tavares. Tyler Perry's sitcoms like Meet the Browns and House of Pain were huge hits. On Meet the Browns, actor Chris Tavares played Tavin, a recurring character. He was a young, up-and-coming actor who had also appeared on the Disney Channel show KC Undercover with Zendaya. He had a promising career ahead of him in family-friendly entertainment. But in 2019, his career came to a screeching halt. Tavares was arrested after a horrifying incident with his girlfriend. According to the police report, the couple got into a heated argument that turned physical. Tavares allegedly pushed his girlfriend, causing her to fall and hit her head. It was a serious case of domestic violence. The legal system did not go easy on him. In 2020, he was charged with felony domestic violence. He eventually pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, but the punishment was still severe. He was sentenced to 300 days in jail and 5 years of probation. He was also ordered to complete a year-long program focused on domestic violence. The incident effectively ended his mainstream acting career. It was a violent, tragic downfall for a young actor who once had a bright future. Tavares' downfall was a violent dispute. Our next actor's career ended for an even more disturbing reason, one that involved him trying to meet a child. 10. Stoney Westmoreland.
Well, an actor who is from the Tri-Cities has been fired by the Disney Channel after being accused of trying to arrange a encounter with a 13-year-old.
The Disney Channel show Andy Mack was praised for being a smart, modern, and inclusive show for young teens. It followed the life of Andy and her friends as they navigated middle school. A central character was Andy's fun-loving grandfather, Henry Ham Mack, who was played by actor Stoney Westmoreland. He was the classic cool grandpa, a quirky and lovable part of the show's family. In 2018, the cast, crew, and fans of the show were hit with a bombshell. Westmoreland had been arrested in Salt Lake City, Utah, in a sting operation. The thing nobody tells you is how dark these things can get. He had been communicating online with someone he believed was a 13-year-old boy. He was allegedly sending inappropriate messages and trying to arrange a meeting. The person he was talking to was, thankfully, an undercover police officer. Westmoreland was arrested and charged with attempted enticement of a minor. The news was horrifying. The Disney Channel acted immediately. They fired him from Andy Mack on the spot. The show was in its 3rd season, and the writers had to quickly figure out how to write his character off the show. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, a sickening end for an actor on a children's show. Westmoreland's crimes were predatory. Our next actor, a kid from a beloved 90s show, also ended up in jail, but his crime involved a chaotic bar fight that turned bloody. 11. Dustin Diamond.
Ted, the actor you know as Screech from Saved by the Bell, sits in the Port Washington jail tonight on serious charges.
In the early 90s, there was no bigger Saturday morning show than Saved by the Bell. And there was no bigger nerd on TV than Samuel Screech Powers. Played by Dustin Diamond, Screech was the goofy, awkward, and lovable friend. Diamond grew up on the show, playing the character for almost 13 years across different spin-offs. But what many overlooked was that Diamond grew to hate the character. He felt typecast and couldn't get other work. He became bitter and desperate for money. He released a scandalous adult-themed video, which he later said was a stunt double. He also wrote a tell-all book about the show that trashed his former co-stars. A book he later admitted was full of lies written by a ghostwriter. His real downfall, however, came on Christmas Day in 2014. Diamond and his fiancée were at a bar in Wisconsin when a fight broke out. Diamond pulled out a pocket knife and, in the chaos, stabbed another man. The man's wound was not life-ending, but it was serious. Diamond was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment. He claimed self-defense, but the jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to 4 months in jail and 15 months of probation. It was a sad, bizarre turn for one of TV's most famous geeks. Diamond's fall was chaotic. Our next actor's downfall was also a huge scandal, but it involved a high-profile actress and that same college admissions scheme. 12. Felicity Huffman.
And now to an Eyewitness News exclusive. Actress Felicity Huffman talking about her arrest and incarceration in the Varsity Blues college admissions scandal.
Desperate Housewives was a global sensation. The 2000s dramedy about the dark secrets of suburban moms was a ratings monster. The all-star cast was led by Felicity Huffman, who played Lynette Scavo, the stressed-out, overworked, but loving mother of 4. Huffman was one of the most respected actresses in Hollywood, even earning an Oscar nomination for her work in the movie Transamerica. This is what made her 2019 arrest so mind-blowing. Huffman was a key figure in the same Operation Varsity Blues scandal that brought down Lori Loughlin. But Huffman's case was different. She didn't pay $500,000. She paid $15,000 to a crooked consultant to have her daughter's SAT answers secretly corrected. What many overlooked was how differently she handled the situation. While Loughlin fought the charges for a year, Huffman did the opposite. She immediately pleaded guilty. She released a public statement full of shame and remorse, accepting full responsibility. Her humility played well in court. The prosecutor asked for a month in jail, but the judge sentenced her to just 14 days in prison. She served her time, paid her fine, and quietly began her community service. While still a criminal act, her quick apology made her downfall far less catastrophic than Loughlin's. Huffman's career was hurt by her crime, but our next star's career was completely destroyed, not by a crime, but by a single, disastrous social media post. 13. Roseanne Barr.
I thought the was white! Damn it!
This is her comeback? Seriously?
In 1988, Roseanne changed television. It was a show about a working-class family that was loud, messy, and real. Roseanne Barr was the star, the sarcastic, wisecracking mom. The show was a #1 hit and ran for 9 seasons. In 2018, the show was rebooted with the original cast and was an instant, massive success. It was the #1 show on television again 30 years later. Roseanne was on top of the world. Then it all vanished in an instant. In May 2018, Roseanne went on a late-night social media rant. She posted a racist tweet about Valerie Jarrett, a former advisor to President Obama. The backlash was immediate and overwhelming. It was not her first controversial post, but it was her last. The network, ABC, did not hesitate. Within hours, they canceled her #1 hit show. They called her statement abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Her co-stars, including Sarah Gilbert and Michael Fishman, publicly condemned her. The show was later retooled as The Conners, with her character being written out as having passed away off-screen. Roseanne lost her creation, her legacy, and her career in a matter of hours, all because of one hateful post. Roseanne was fired by her own network. Our next actor was also fired from his hit show, but it was due to serious accusations of bad behavior on set. 14. Jeffrey Tambor. Jeffrey Tambor is a legendary character actor. He's known for playing an amazing range of characters, from the goofy sidekick Hank on The Larry Sanders Show to the corrupt and hilarious patriarch George Bluth Sr. on Arrested Development. But his most celebrated role came late in his career. He starred in the Amazon series Transparent as Maura Pfefferman, a retired professor who transitions to being a woman. The role was groundbreaking. Tambor won 2 Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe. He was praised as a champion for the transgender community. But not all things are what they seem. In 2017, at the height of the Me Too movement, accusations started to surface. 2 transgender women who worked on the show His former assistant and a co-star accused him of serious on-set harassment and inappropriate conduct. Tambor denied the accusations, calling them misinterpreted, but Amazon launched an internal investigation. The thing nobody tells you is that these investigations are serious. After months of looking into the claims, Amazon fired Tambor from his own award-winning show. The 5th season had to be rewritten without him. While he was not fired from Arrested Development, his reputation was severely damaged, and his legacy as an ally was gone. Tambor was fired for his behavior. Our next actor faced a similar downfall, with his Playboy TV character being overshadowed by real-life accusations. 15. Jeremy Piven. For 8 seasons on HBO, Entourage was the ultimate fantasy. It followed a movie star and his childhood friends living the high life in Hollywood. The show's breakout star wasn't the lead, it was Jeremy Piven, who played the fast-talking, foul-mouthed, and wildly successful agent Ari Gold. Piven won 3 Emmy Awards for the role. Ari Gold was a pop culture icon. But in 2017, Piven's career came to a halt. As more women felt empowered to speak out about their experiences, 8 different women came forward to accuse Piven of non-consensual encounters and harassment. The accusations spanned from the 1980s to 2013. One actress on the Entourage set claimed he had behaved inappropriately with her. Piven strongly denied every single accusation. He even offered to take a lie detector test, which he later posted that he passed. But in the court of public opinion, the damage was done. A TV series he was starring in at the time, Wisdom of the Crowd, was quickly canceled, though the network claimed it was for low ratings. He was dropped from projects, and his A-list career evaporated. The line between the aggressive Ari Gold and Jeremy Piven became too blurry for many to ignore. Piven's career stalled after his accusations. Our next actor was a beloved child star, but he faced similar claims of misconduct decades later, getting him fired from his own reboot. 16. Fred Savage. Fred Savage was one of the most famous child actors of all time. As Kevin Arnold on The Wonder Years, he was the heart of the show. We watched him grow up, navigate his first love, and deal with family life. After the show, he successfully transitioned into a new career as a prolific TV director, working on hit shows like Modern Family and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. In 2018, an actress on his show, The Grinder, sued him, claiming he was hostile and inappropriate toward female crew members. The case was settled out of court, but the real trouble came in 2022. Savage was serving as the executive producer and director of the reboot of The Wonder Years. It seemed like the perfect job for him, but then he was suddenly and shockingly fired. Reports came out that multiple women on the crew had filed complaints about his conduct. They described him as having a temper and behaving inappropriately. An internal investigation by the studio confirmed the misconduct, and he was let go. It was a stunning reversal for the man everyone still saw as the innocent Kevin Arnold. Savage's downfall was a behind-the-scenes shock. Our next star's downfall, however, happened right in front of our eyes, in a very public and bizarre spiral. 17. Amanda Bynes. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Amanda Bynes was the next big thing. She was a comedy prodigy on the Nickelodeon show All That, and then got her own hit, The Amanda Show. She successfully moved into sitcoms with What I Like About You, and starred in hit movies like She's the Man and Hairspray. She was talented, funny, and had a squeaky clean image. Then, around 2010, she announced she was retiring from acting, and her behavior became very, very strange. She started posting bizarre and troubling messages online. She was arrested for driving under the influence. She was caught starting a small fire in a stranger's driveway. She was exhibiting erratic and paranoid behavior that was deeply concerning. It was clear this was not just a case of a star acting out. It was a serious mental health crisis happening in public. Her parents had to step in and place her under a court-ordered conservatorship in 2013, similar to the one Britney Spears had. She had lost control of her life and her finances. For almost 9 years, she was under this legal arrangement. Thankfully, she has since gotten the help she needed, and the conservatorship was ended. But her promising career was a casualty of her very public and painful downfall. Bynes' struggles were sad to watch. Our next actor from a hit Disney show also had a public spiral filled with arrests and bizarre behavior. 18. Orlando Brown. That's So Raven was a flagship show for the Disney Channel in the 2000s. Raven Simonet starred as a teen who could see the future. Her best friend was the goofy, aspiring rapper Eddie Thomas, played by Orlando Brown. He was a key part of the show's comedy and a popular character. But after the show ended, Brown's life took a dark turn. Starting around 2011, his name began appearing in headlines for all the wrong reasons. He was arrested for DUI. Then he was arrested for domestic disputes. Then for possession of illegal substances. Then for outstanding warrants. The list of arrests just kept growing. His behavior also became very erratic. He made wild and untrue claims about his relationships with other celebrities. He got numerous face and neck tattoos, including one of his That's So Raven co-star. He appeared on the show Dr. Phil, where his strange behavior and claims about his demon name left friends and fans worried for his mental health. He was arrested again in 2022 for aggravated menacing. It's a tragic spiral for an actor who was once a happy-go-lucky Disney star. Brown's career was lost to his erratic behavior. Our next actor, however, didn't have a downfall. Instead, she exposed the industry's dark side as her career was exploding. 19. Jeanette McCurdy. This one is a different kind of downfall. It's not a story of crime or substance issues. It's the story of an actor who was at the very top of her game and chose to walk away because the industry itself was the problem. Jeanette McCurdy starred as the tough, funny Sam Puckett on the Nickelodeon mega-hit iCarly and its spin-off Sam and Cat. She was one of the biggest kid stars on the planet. When the iCarly reboot was announced in 2021, fans were stunned to learn that McCurdy would not be returning. Why would she turn down a massive paycheck to revisit her most famous role? The answer came in 2022 when she released her bombshell memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. The book was a horrifying look at her life as a child star. She detailed the extreme emotional and physical abuse she suffered from her own mother, who forced her into acting. She also exposed the dark side of working at Nickelodeon. She described being encouraged to drink alcohol while underage, being photographed in a bikini at a wardrobe fitting, and being offered $300,000 in hush money by the network to never speak publicly about her experiences. Her downfall was actually a brave escape, exposing the entire system as she walked away from acting for good. McCurdy exposed the system that failed her. Our final actor was also a beloved sitcom dad, but he was fired from his long-running show after multiple investigations into his bad behavior. 20. Jeff Garlin. For nearly a decade, Jeff Garlin was the grumpy, pantsless patriarch Murray Goldberg on the hit sitcom The Goldbergs. He was the classic 80s dad, lovable in his own curmudgeonly way. Garlin was also famous for co-starring and producing the acclaimed HBO series Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was a comedy veteran at the top of his game. But in 2021, his career on The Goldbergs came to an abrupt end. He was suddenly fired in the middle of filming the show's 9th season. The thing nobody tells you is that this was a long time coming. An investigation by a journalist revealed that Garlin had been the subject of multiple human resources investigations for years. Crew members complained that he used inappropriate language, was verbally hostile, and engaged in unwanted touching and hugging. Garlin defended himself, saying he was just being silly, and that it was all a misunderstanding. But the studio clearly disagreed. They fired him, forcing the show to use a clumsy combination of stand-ins and bad digital effects to film his remaining scenes. It was a bizarre and embarrassing end for the star of a long-running family show, all because he couldn't stop his silly behavior on set.